You really thought I'd run? Watch me. 30 years in my pen, Jersey girl with perfect plans. Garden raising my daughter, healing cats with gentle hands. Astrology blog at midnight, Reiki light into the breeze. Masters and bachelors, both with honors, so the world would let me breathe. And they turn my name on a secret list, pay strangers and make me bleed. So I packed up everything I loved and drove out to be free. But freedom wasn't far enough. Now I'm alternative, setting fires cars between the target and got every other day. I crossed the Kentucky line, drones in my sky, send the tears in my gate.
Hi, Con Otis. Welcome, welcome. I'm a little bit late because the criminals decided to knock me out. And it's snowing here. It's yucky. How you doing? Yes, we've got 4 inches of snow so far. I'm not happy. It's snowing. Yes, it's snowing. Yes, it's snowing. It's snowing. I know, and it's 4 inches already, and it's supposed to be cold, like really cold on Monday, like single digits. The only good thing is the criminals. I mean, unless they're going to keep driving down the county road. Yeah, you woke up 20 minutes ago. Yeah, they knocked me out. Like I was like 9:30. Hi, Julius. Welcome, welcome. I was just sitting here at 9:30 watching Ryan Hall yawl, and they knocked me out. Hi, Laura. Welcome. Hi, user. Welcome, welcome. I'm in Kentucky. Hi, Amanda. Welcome. Yeah, it's snowing. We've got 4 inches of snow already. I don't like snow anymore. This actually looks like snow. Yeah, it's coming down. I was watching Ryan Hall yawl, and he lives here. He lives in Kentucky. Camera rolling 24/7. I'm never gonna quit. Watch me grow. It looks like real. It actually looks like real snow, not like that fake stuff that I posted a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what the hell that stuff was. It was that was not snow. I don't have a snow thrower here. I sold it in New Jersey. I had a really good one in New Jersey. I figured when I moved to Kentucky, I wouldn't need it anymore. And besides, like it's very difficult to use something like that here because I have a gravel driveway. So no, I'll just let it. When the sun comes out, it'll melt. Spring will be here soon enough. I just have to shovel off my porch and shovel back and forth to the chicken coops and the cat's building, and then to open up the gate around where the mailbox is. That's it. Why do they use drones? I literally have one in your woods right now. Oh, they use drones, all right. Yes. You can see them at night. I think it was last week. There were 4 of them above my house. Yeah, they use drones. Drones they're spies. Oh yeah, they're bold, all right. They are bold. Yeah, it's very different. Like in New Jersey, we had a lot of flatter surfaces, so concrete walkways, asphalt driveways. It's not like that here. A Foxy was out earlier waiting for some food. Yeah, it's mostly surveillance. It is agitation, but they can also if they get really too close to your trees, they can knock down tree branches. I mean, this actually started in Texas and Oklahoma, and it's going across the U.S. to the East Coast. So New Jersey and New York are going to get hit. The one thing about New Jersey and New York is they take pretty good care of their streets. Once the snow starts, they've got trucks all night long. Yeah, you would love to see a drone up close. At least one will fall out of the sky someday. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would like to also because depending on the size and the weight of the drone, they're supposed to be registered. Like the little ones that most people buy, you don't have to register those, but I don't like the snow anymore. Like I loved it as a child. We couldn't wait for it to snow and hopefully that there would be a school closing. Now it's just an annoyance. And the worst part is the chickens, they get like not the chickens so much, but the guineas, they get like snow blinded. It's so weird. They can't figure out how to get back in the coop sometimes with all the whiteness. And I think it was a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we had a lot of snow and I could not get the birds back in the coop. They couldn't figure out how to get back in because everything was white. I had to, dig paths for them. And they'll mostly hide under houses, under some of the buildings. It just becomes an annoyance and everything takes so much longer to do. But like a little while ago, like before they knocked me out, I was looking outside. The snow was coming down. I had shoveled like for the second time. And I see one of the losers driving down the county road. I'm thinking, yeah, speed up and see what happens. We have no guardrail on the county road anymore, thanks to Judge Gabbard. So yeah, speed up, see what happens if you fall in the county road. I won't be calling anybody. So yes, we've got well, get this, guys. I have two foxes. So I've been feeding Foxy, and I kind of figured that there was somebody else, but I kept thinking it was baby foxes. But this week, like in the distance, like in the rear, like back in the woods, I see Foxy go in there with a food, and there's another fox back there. So I did like a double take. And then last night, I fed Foxy. Foxy just sits outside of my house waiting for food. Throw Foxy some food, come back in the house, and then I hear something like these squeaky noises outside. I'm thinking, like, what is that? Like, it didn't sound like a raccoon or a possum or whatever. I look outside, and there are Foxy is playing with another fox. But as soon as I opened the door, the other fox got flipped out and ran behind one of the buildings. So there are two foxes. The creepy voice sounded like a drain pipe, sounded as if a toilet. Oh, really? That's interesting. Well, get this, I was listening to my interview with Holly again, and there was some point, either was the middle, like towards the end, the creepy voice is in that recording. So that creepy voice creeps its way into things other than the live chat. And remember to hit the thumbs up, guys. Yeah, so it's definitely some part of my technology or part of the harassment of you guys, the harassment of me. I mean, I don't hear it during the live stream. I only hear it. Yes, it's electronic trickery. Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good way of putting. And they do a lot of electronic trickery. I've got Zoomy sitting here with me. And the one thing about the snow is like it just takes up so much extra time. So even though it doesn't take long, it's like, another 20 minutes here, another 20 minutes there, another 30 minutes here. It's just an annoyance. And these lovely losers, they sabotage a fourth pair of socks, pair of socks in a week. Oh, you look at the PVA website, it reveals some of my neighbors. Yeah, that PVA website has very few of the neighbors. The PVA website does not show any of the perpetrators. They're not on there. They're not on that website. And I asked multiple times, like, why is it that my name and address is up there, but none of my neighbors? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, like, if you were to go to the New Jersey website, you'll see all of my neighbors there, their names, their addresses. But they pick and choose who's going to be there, and which is really bizarre because at the very least, my neighbor diagonally across the street, who I call Jezzy with the blue lights on, I'll just leave it at that because she keeps blue lights on last Christmas, but she didn't have them on this year. But she's the one that tricked me into taking a pregnant cat. Her property was part of mine, and it sold just a couple of months before mine. So that should definitely be on the website. Why is my property on the website and not hers when they were part of the same property? It was just divided. Makes no sense at all. It's deliberate. It's very corrupt here, just in every way imaginable. It's so corrupt. And I remember when I was living in New Jersey, I actually had friends. I actually had friends at the sheriff's department, and they were good guys. Actually, they weren't like a lot of the creeps that you see on these cop auditor shows. But one of them had said that like New Jersey is the most corrupt state in the country, and I didn't really believe that. But I guess coming from somebody who would know, that New Jersey is the most corrupt state in the country, I beg to differ now. I really think that Kentucky's really up there on the list. At least this county. And it's not just this county, it's like the entire southern eastern part of Kentucky. Yes, exactly. Yeah, they look very innocent from afar, but wait until you visit. Exactly. That is exactly right. Well, what about that Lecter County, that sheriff that shot the judge? Oh, the stuff that came out of that is just off the charts. It's like I had the Kentucky Division of Forestry here when I first moved here. I wanted to know how many trees were on my property, et cetera, et cetera. This was all new to me. So they wrote me a report, and the report was stolen, of course. Report was stolen from my house. But one of the guys says that like living where I live, it's like living in the wild, wild west. And it's like, hi, Elsie, welcome. It's like the wild, wild west. Like at the time, it was like 2024. And I'm thinking, the wild, wild, wasn't that like a zillion years ago? I mean, come on. Let's fast forward to the age of Aquarius that we're going into. Yeah, the wild, wild west, like those old movies that you used to see on the television. I remember to hit the thumbs up, guys. I see there are 23 people watching and only 6 thummies. It could be that there are people just listening in the background too, which is usually the case. I know that I've got a couple of subscribers that don't get in the live chat, just listen in the background. I want to ask you guys a question. Through any of your home break-ins, do people ever do anything to your ears? Hi, very soon. Welcome, welcome. Because that's what these criminals have been assaulting my ears. Like I have blood, crusty blood underneath my ears from them slicing my ears. Well, thank you. It is real. Oh, it's unbelievable. And that's another reason why they isolate the victim. Because if I were to show, let's say, a friend or a family member what happens to me on a daily basis, they'd be like, what the hell? And they would also be able to take photos of places on my body that are really difficult to photograph. Like it's so hard to photograph some of this. Oh no, these people are the envious and jealous today. Okay, I have 2 chicken coops. I open up chicken coop number 1. I let my birdies out. I go in there. I do a little bit of cleaning and I leave. Now I go back later and somebody had been in there, likely when I was in the cats building cleaning there. And they literally cut into one of their perches. They literally carved it out. So these poor birds now, when they're on that perch, it's going to hurt their feet. Hi, Fred. Welcome. It's good to see you. "5 years ago on the ears." Okay. It happens too often here. It happens too often. Yes. It's horrible. And I feel bumps next to my ears, in my ears. There's one in particular, is definitely an implant. I could feel it. It's like a little harder. Like I'm seriously thinking about going to one of those ear, nose, and throat doctors and have get some X-rays. This is not normal. Yeah, the tinnitus. Sliced ears, arm, and bathtub, Elsie says. Oh, it's unbelievable what happens here. I absolutely hate it. I hate it here. Now, I mean, I was targeted in New Jersey too. The one thing about being targeted in New Jersey is I'd lived there for so long, and they can't co-opt everybody that I knew, and they didn't. There are just too many people. They co-opted the local neighbors and stuff, but I was still able to get veterinary care. I was still able to go out and eat. I was still everything was close by. Plus, I had a big, huge house. So if they were targeting me very badly in one room, I would go into another room. I don't have that option here. Hi, Automat. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Pamela. Welcome. Oh my goodness, Pamela. They did something like that in New Jersey. They Pamela says, I live in my trailer and they put urine in my hot water heater. I believe you. I absolutely believe you. Hi, Joe. Welcome. I was a little late too, Joe. I was 11 minutes late. Remember to hit the thumbs up, guys. But yes, these are losers. They like to use urine, feces, blood. They're Satanists. These are Luciferian Satanists. They're part of a cult. These are sick, depraved lunatics. They're psychopaths. Oh, they love to use urine. And you know what? Like they especially use urine because I have cats, right? So they want me to believe that it's yeah, they want me to believe it's the cats. But the one thing that I learned in New Jersey from what they were doing is they can actually, first of all, two of three things happen. Okay, they can actually control a pet to urinate or defecate at will. A normally, well trained dog or cat, they can. Hi, just me. Welcome. They can control your animals. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is they actually have these loser, disgusting men that come in to your house and they will urinate. They urinate and they also jerk off because you can also find their other disgusting bodily fluids somewhere. And they'll also leave blood. But another thing that they can do, because they spray stuff in your home, that they can actually formulate this stuff out of the air with energy weapons, and that's a different kind of technology. So they have sprayed your environment with powders that can, through heat and through their microwaves, put urine anywhere. They're disgusting. So very soon says I have implants in both my ears, under my lower lip, nostril, eyebrows, your C-section scar. I suspect a few other places as well. Yeah, they especially like the ears. It's very hard to photograph, right? Well, like if you live alone, it's so hard to photograph. And it's also a very sensitive area. They like to affect your central nervous system. So they target areas where you're going to, yes, it's disgusting, Pamela. Well, they are sick human beings. They're not healthy people. Healthy people don't smell like that. Well, besides the fact that the one thing that I realize about the people around here is they don't eat. Well, not all of them. I met one that a couple of years ago that I think eats fairly healthfully, but most of the people around here eat shit. Even though they grow their own food and they cook their own, food and stuff, it's usually overcooked, oversalted, too much sugar. There isn't anyone around here that looks healthy, honestly. But so what's the weather like by you guys? You woke up special just to look. Oh, what, 8-inch sleet, Cabot, Arkansas? Okay, Pamela's like, I'm moving into a 19-foot aluminum trailer and taking my dogs to daycare. I'm afraid they will hurt them. I also think they steal my urine. It was nice today. Oh, Southern California. Okay. Hi, Ace of Cups. Welcome, welcome. New Mexico is chilly, a little bit of snow. Well, at least you're not getting what we're getting here. It's no fun here. I don't like it anymore. So right now it says that it feels like 7 degrees, even though it's 16, it feels like 7 degrees, 91% humidity. In the last 6 hours, 3.6 inches of snow. Another 2 inches expected in the next 24 hours. So it's supposed to be like this today and tomorrow. Then we're supposed to get like a little bit of sun on Monday, but the temperature is going to drop, and Tuesday also. But it doesn't show any sun coming out, which is the worst. Let's see. Some of these bodily fluids affect. I know it's so gross. It's very gross. So you have a few inches of frozen snow in Cincinnati. Okay. 13 degrees, but it feels like -1. Oh, look out for Charlie says it's modified. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Well, he's right. And I was just watching Dane Wigington. I mean, he's like the expert on this geoengineering weather modification thing. And basically, I mean, they were spraying the skies a couple of days ago. They spray the skies every day. They know exactly what they're doing. It's totally modified. There's like no sun. It's so unhealthy to not have sun. Oh, another thing these criminals do is like, I've got bumps all over my head. So they're doing something, either with energy devices or implants or whatever, like so many bumps. Yeah, the weather is affecting, it not only affects, the environment, the plant life, the wildlife, but it affects the gardening seasons too. It affects your crops. They're causing a lot of property damage down south with the ice. Oh, I believe that. Yes. My conversation with that Michaela was awesome. She's a joke. my conversation with that Michaela. Oh, was that ridiculous? The Jackson County PVA secretary. Yeah, her name is spelled a little differently. Like when you wrote Michaela, I was thinking Michaela Raines, like the Save a Fox woman who took her life, who allegedly took her life. But no, McKaylee. Yeah, her name is McKaylee McCowan. Oh, what a joke. What a joke. Very unprofessional. But that's the way a lot of the people are around here. Very unprofessional. Not once did her boss get on the phone. That little weenie boy was hiding behind his secretary. He's a pathological liar. Let's see, you can see the flames after a burner was awesome. Yeah, she was so concerned about telling me the truth about how many of my neighbors had high tax increases. Oh no, they did not have any tax increases. They did not have any tax increases at all. And see, the thing is, and this is basically across the country, but property taxes are based upon your primary residence and your acreage. And here in Jackson County, in this area, we have we have different types of taxation. So if you own 10 acres of land or more, after the 10 acres, it's taxed at agricultural. And it's done at a much lower tax rate, and it gives you the ability to write stuff off, like if you're taking care of a farm. Oh, she's a pathological liar. And and another thing I wanted to mention about that, she kept saying, "Oh, but what about that phone call?" And it's like, I have not spoken to this woman on the phone since February, actually February 18, 2025. It was through email. The last time I spoke to her on the phone was when I received my tax invoice in October of 2025. If that's what she's referring to, I questioned her, like, where did this come from? Let's see, you turned your phone off. Just let me see. Yeah, she was so concerned about telling. Yeah, exactly. Let's see, Julia says, I turned my iPhone off just to try it. I checked an hour later and it turned on by itself. You stood up to take it out and your computer blurted psychological torture without you checking the links? Wow. Monroe, Louisiana has a lot of beautiful, big old trees, and currently their limbs are cracking off from the weight of the ice. Ice is really bad. Like snow, you can shake snow off of trees, but the ice is a problem because the ice will definitely crack the branches, and it only comes off when the sun comes out. When it melts. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, guys. Yeah, I wasn't even sure if I was going to have the live stream tonight because I'm so tired. Julie says, I keep my iPhone in your fridge. Since then, the stalking by fire trucks and phones has really eased up. Oh, I guess you're using your refrigerator like a Faraday cage. You could probably do it too, like if you unplug your microwave, you can probably put it in an old microwave. Although, they can target you through your refrigerator. Your refrigerator will start to like have unusual sounds, even if it doesn't have an ice maker in it. They can use any electrical device. Ace of Cups says Judge Judy always says that a written contract cannot be undone by an oral contract. If it was set in writing, then it needs to be amended in writing too. So her phone conversation point was wrong. Oh, well, absolutely. Well, we did not. When I called her in October, I referenced the February 18th email where she said I was still exonerated. I asked her, I said, what changed between February and October? And that's when she said that it was in June, she claims, that Bobby Edwards reevaluated the property. I said, really? Nobody told me, received no notification. Nobody was here. Nobody asked me any questions. Automat says, yeah, I stopped taking my phone with me for 15 years. I go out with no phone all the time. I go out with no phone often. But then what ends up happening is, and this is what happened to this phone, is somebody came into my house like years ago and they tamper with my phone. So now the phone camera is blurred. It takes a long time to charge it. And then once it's charged at 100%, like it goes from 100% to like low battery in a nanosecond. I constantly have my phone in a charger. It's ridiculous. I know there are some subscribers that say that they'll either keep their phone turned off or on it says I just received a flash across my screen that my connection is bad, that the connection is not stable. Yeah, so that just started happening. It could be my laptop, it could be third party interference, it could be the weather, I don't know. Oh yeah, they don't like the perps don't like us talking about getting rid of our phones. That's a good point. Yeah, where would they be without our phones? But the one thing I noticed, like when I sometimes when I go to the other side of the property, I'll bring my phone with me and I'll keep it on airplane mode. And I notice that the battery does not die as quickly as when it's on and I'm not even using it. Ace of Cups says, Ross Murray, we rebuke you in the name, yes, in the name of, yes, we rebuke you, Ross Murray. Oh, he's a piece of crap. I'll tell him to his face, too. I've dealt with worse lawyers than him in my lifetime, so I have no problem cursing out a lawyer. More lawyers than I can even remember in New Jersey. So he's just another corrupt one. At least the ones in New Jersey try to cover up their corruptness, not this one. So now I just got an alert expected to start here at 11:09 p.m. More snow. Yeah, he's just another little weenie boy. But unfortunately, they keep him in office. Oh, and his assistant. Let's see. Some of the perks are Jehovah's Witnesses. Sorry, you're. No, I'm not. I'm not part of that religion. I'm not a religious person, by the way. Just as an FYI. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, when I was in New Jersey and in New York, they would go door to door. You would see them all the time. They were always very polite, but very invasive. You know, like invading your privacy. Yeah, I'm not a religious person. Like my parents didn't raise us like being very overly religious. I grew up in a family with two religions. So, although I did make my communion and confirmation, I was baptized and all that stuff, you know. Let's see. You suspect the Knights of Columbus are involved too in a weird way. Well, I believe that they are part of that, that group. There's the Lions Club, there's the Knights of Columbus, um, the Knights Templar. They're all different, like little cults, bunch of little cults. Yeah, they're all involved. The Shriners, the fraternities. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Fraternities. Yes, for all of us fallen away ex-Catholics. Yes, well, that's I was raised Roman Catholic. I went to Sunday school. I went to religious instruction during the week. I used to walk to church on Sunday. Yeah, the Elks Club, the Rat Hat Society, the Lions Club, the Elks Club. Why do they use like animals? Oh, very soon. The PVA website is the Jackson County PVA website. And the PVA is for the property valuation. That's what PVA is, property valuation. They're supposed to have all of the neighbors online, but they only have a select few, and none of my perpetrators. So a couple of subscribers have said, "Oh, the reason those neighbors are not on the website is because they're paid informants. They don't want you to see their stuff." Oh yes, that's true. Huge Scientology population. Yep, they're creepy, all right. Yep, very creepy. I don't know, guys. They're cults. Yeah, the Jackson County PVA. But there's probably some, like for any of you guys that own homes or pay property taxes, you'll have to look it up in your community. It's not always going to be called PVA. But you could type in like property valuation or property tax records for your city or state. It's usually by township or county. And it's supposed to be available to the public. Yes, yes, he's a Scientologist as well, John Travolta. Well, there are a lot of celebrities that got involved with that. I don't know. I look at it that as a form of brainwashing. It's cult-like behavior. Yeah. So there was let me see if I could find it. One second, one second. I have two PDFs up that I started to read on the channel. And let me just scroll through and see if there's some of it that I want to read here. The stalkers do not like you, and you're proud of that. Yes, Tom Cruise. Yes, there are so many of them. In fact, I believe that that was a like a bone of contention with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman is his involvement in Scientology. I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm not all up to date on all the celebrity gossip. That was it too. The Skull and Bones. It's very evil origin story. Well, I have this book called The Freemason Fuckery and the Girl Born on the Friday the 13th. So I haven't read any more of it. I've got like a whole stack of new books that I just haven't gotten into reading again because I've been reading some articles. So let me just pull this up. I see that there are 33 people and only 14 thumbs up. So if you could hit the thumbs up, that would be great, guys. Let's see here. My screen is not even allowing me to scroll down on this PDF. I think my laptop is low on memory too. Let's see. I'm going to look at this other document instead. I don't think I want to read that one. 1 second. So I've got the PDF up on swarming and the future of conflict. I started reading some of this on the channel, but I'll read a little bit of it because it's interesting. I mean, this isn't basically in military dialogue, but when I read it, they utilize these tools, these swarming tools against us. There's definitely spyware. They intercept your email. Oh yes. Yeah, the thing with McKaylee. Ace of Cups says, I noticed in your chat with McKaylee that the conversation started very nice. She almost seemed sweet toward you. And then the wheels fell off as you hammered down on the FOIA stuff. Well, I have a right to that information, you know. I wonder if she knew your reputation prior to the conversation. I really don't know. But if she knows anything about me now, is like I'm not going to take that bullshit. And I revel at zeroing in on her pathological lying. It like really like gets me. I mean, this is a tax office, a PVA office. They evaluate the property taxes for everybody. But they have literally singled me out because my property was listed for sale. And then she has the audacity to say that, well, your property was selling for over $500,000. Well, that has nothing to do with anything. It has nothing to do with my requests for information that I did not receive. Now, who has to contact an attorney to respond to a FOIA request? It's really very simple. If you're doing your job at your agency, the Jackson County PVA office with Bobby Edwards, all you have to go in to do is you go into your database, perform your research, and spit out the information. I mean, any teenager could do that. So Ace of Customs is like the veterinarian that didn't even try to play nice. She was nasty right away. The lady tried a different tactic, kill with kindness. Yeah. Let's see. Am I able to see all the users who are watching your stream? No. No, I cannot. I cannot. I only see right now that there are 33 people watching and 17 thumbs up. So, I mean, the only reason I know that I know some of the people who listen in is because they told me. You know, they tell me that they listen in on the background. And I couldn't even tell you if it's every live stream. I know that it's sometimes. There are people that, you know, they don't like to get into the live chat. They just listen in the background. And I was one of those people too when I would get on live chats. I would be tired at the end of the night, not feeling like typing. So I would just listen. Just Me says, in my county, it's property appraiser. Yes, the appraiser, yes. Public information on property. Exactly, it's public information. In fact, when you list your house for sale, anybody, when it goes into the MLS or even if you do it privately, they will automatically, based upon your tax record, they grab your property tax record and evaluate what the monthly taxes will be if somebody's going to buy the property. I actually went back into the Manalapan records, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I because I was curious. I didn't remember the names of some of my perpetrator neighbors. So, yeah, so I went back into the tax records to see. And I also discovered how high the property taxes have gone, how they went up in 6 years. But property taxes increasing. Now, this is what the bitch doesn't realize is increasing my property taxes means that the value of my home increased because property taxes are based upon the value of your home, the value of your property. Pamela says, I don't think she is used to somebody standing up for herself. They're really careful here in Cali. You got $700 increase on taxes. They said, oh, that you didn't pay in 2024, but you have a record of course you have a record of payment. Yes, con artist, I've heard of that. The Blue Craft Lodge and the York Rite, yeah, in the 1700s, yeah. They have a very long history, very, very long history. Yeah, basically what they're doing here is against the law. And they gave me no opportunity to dispute the dollar amount, which by law, because she kept talking about, oh, how we abide by the law. We do everything by the law. What's a crock of shit? Because they did not send me a letter And when I requested a copy of the letter they allegedly sent, they couldn't produce it. And in that letter, and this would happen anywhere that you live in the whole United States, if you get a property tax increase, you received a letter telling you what the increase is, giving you the reasons for the increase based upon your square footage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reevaluating of the property values. And usually at the bottom of the letter, it says, well, you have 12 days or 14 days or 20 days to dispute it. Well, that's a really good question, Ace of Cups. I wonder if neighboring counties have their tax information publicized, like the number of households with tax increases. You can find a neighboring county that has that information. That's a really good point. I haven't thought about that, but I can certainly try that. Well, I have already collected properties that have gone on the market, local properties that have gone on the market that have significantly more square footage. Now, I guarantee these people are not 65 and over. These are younger people, which means that they do not receive the homestead rebate for over 65, or the exoneration for over 65. What is it? So there are two forms of I guess discounts you receive. One for being 65 and over. Another if you're disabled. They're supposed to, if you've got a nonprofit, nonprofits are automatically tax exempt. But they didn't take that into consideration either. But then also, if you've got 10 acres or more, and this is kind of common in many states across the country, if you've got 10 acres or more, after the 10 acres, it's labeled agricultural, and you get a decreased taxes on that portion of the property. But the portion that is your primary residence is what is generally taxed. Now, the former owner had a much larger home than I do, and he had the same buildings. So she had the audacity to say on the call, "Oh, but you've got all those little outbuildings." Well, so did Travis Sparks. He had them all, and I tore down 5 of them. She had no argument. There was no argument there. And actually, if I had a better list in front of me and I wasn't so damn tired, I would have pummeled that. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I would have asked different questions. I would have responded differently. Yeah, but Ross Murray, he's a piece of crap. I hope you're listening, you little weenie boy. Yeah, you're a piece of crap. You're a pathological liar. And he has a history of not responding to FOIA requests. He has a history of responding halfway through a FOIA request. He has a history of claiming he responds to a FOIA request by like sending me a cover letter and not responding to the FOIA request. And then, of course, when you request the information, he'll say, "I already responded to it." He is a narcissist. He's an abuser. He's above and beyond being an attorney. He's an abuser. Yes. Well, no, actually, the former owner, he was a very prim and proper man. Oh, Pamela is so funny. Pamela says he has a Mary Kay Lipstick sample weenie. Oh, you're so funny. I love the part when you ask her if she had a copy of the letter that he claimed to have CC'd you on. Oh no, she was clueless. Totally clueless. Totally clueless. And then she's like protecting the neighbors. Well, if you sell your property like for more money, that's going to increase the neighbors' taxes. Oh, is that part of the agenda too? To depreciate the value of my property so that nobody else's property taxes are increased? Their properties, some of them are probably not even paying property taxes because they're paid informants. I guarantee they took my $1,400 and divvied it up between the sheriff, Ross Murray, and the weenie boy at the PVA office. Little weenie boy, Bobby Edwards, who can't show his face. Yeah, she didn't want to say she had it. She didn't want to say that she didn't have it. She knew she would be screwed either way. Well, these people, they're not very professional. And this is what happens when you've got people growing up in the same community and never leave here. They never learn, they never grow. They're not educated, and they work for corrupt officials. It's one little corrupt club around here. So this PDF that I have, A Swarming and the Future of Conflict, I read a little bit on the channel. And I'll just read a little bit more here. Because I think that when you read this as it pertains to the military and how they operate, a lot of these tactics are being utilized, especially right now across the country with ICE. But these tactics are being utilized against targeted people because they consider us to be domestic terrorists, There was one person that chimed in. She left a comment under one of the videos. She says, "I'm a 76-year-old domestic terrorist." I mean, it's just like a joke. It's just such a joke. So let's see. It says here our hypothesis about swarming and the future of conflict. Swarming is that the technical tools used to support it already exist. Unmanned aerial vehicles, precision guided munitions, and very enhanced communications. So, moving towards swarming is going to be more a function of cultivating an appropriate turn of mind and a supple, networked military form of organization than it will be a search for new technologies. This notion seems already to be born out of the Marine Corps. Various experiments with its new operational concepts. Sea Dragon, like the ocean sea dragon, which uses existing technology and emphasizes networks. This study focuses mainly on military swarming. Its effectiveness can prove high at all levels of military conflict, from major theater wars to small-scale contingencies against a conventional adversary on a traditional battlefield. The swarming of directed fires should have devastating effects against an elusive opponent trying to fight an irregular fashion. The coordinated swarming of networked forces should enable them to defeat the enemy in detail. However, it should be noted that even a network swarm force will have a hard time dealing with guerrilla forces enjoying, how do they use the word enjoy? Enjoying the support of a populace that can sustain, hide, and nurture them. We also attend through secondarily to swarming by non military actors that rely on violence, such as terrorist, criminal, and fanatical groups, and to swarming by social actors, such as civil society, NGOs, whose practices are fundamentally peaceful. Fundamentally peaceful, I guess like those people in Minnesota that gunned down. Let's see, the study concludes by proposing. I had to attend to a text message my cousin just texted me. The study concludes by proposing that development of a new battle swarm doctrine could prove fruitful for the U.S. military, perhaps more than the further refinement of air land battle doctrine. We envision the development of new kinds of small military units called pods that can operate in clusters, quote unquote. These units could be dispersed to mitigate the risk posed by hostile fire, yet they would feature great mobility, modest logistical requirements, and top sight. They will know much of what's going on in the overall campaign, as will their top commander. Possessing both mobility and situational knowledge, they will be able to strike, swarming from all directions, either with fire or in force. A broader notion is also implied by this study. By learning to work with both the military and non military aspects of swarming through innovative thinking about how best to blend all the military, diplomatic, and social dynamics of this phenomenon, a new paradigm may be built at the highest level for quote unquote strategic swarming. Let's scroll down here. Some of this stuff, actually, when I read it, it just gets like a little boring, like this military stuff. But then you'll find like something interesting that kind of pertains to what we experience with our organized stalking. Let's see, rural locals not accepting of outsiders. Well, that's true. Yes, that's right. We're civilians. We're not terrorists. Hi, Bidon, Didon. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Cava Scout. Welcome. Remember to hit the thumbs up when you come in. Let's see, whenever I hear these people and their ideas of the world, I think of children playing in a sandbox with G.I. Joes. They sound like children playing games with dolls. They're very immature. I mean, that's one of the things about living here. I find that not everybody, but they're very immature, unprofessional, histrionic, and they're not that bright. They're not the brightest stars on the planet. Let's put it that way. Let's see. I'm going to grab another book and see what else we can read here. that might be of interest. Narcissists are children in adult bodies, exactly. But they're dangerous, very dangerous. You've lived in the city and more rural areas and met localism in both. Um, I really generally have not. Like I grew up in the Bronx. I lived in New York City. I lived in Queens. And then I lived in New Jersey, and then I moved here. And by far, this community is the worst that I've ever lived in my entire life. And I've lived, a long time in many places. I mean, the one thing about Manalapan, like when I first moved there were so few people living there. And then what happened specifically after 9/11, when a lot of people got freaked out, they started moving out of New York City. They started moving into Staten Island and Brooklyn. And then those people started moving out to New Jersey. So then New Jersey, that area in particular, became very crowded. Very, very crowded. But also, it was multicultural. So, it was colorful. Um, there were people of all different ethnicities and backgrounds and races. Of course, there were more concentrated. There was a very big Italian community in Manalapan. Um, mostly white, but we had a black and brown people and huge Asian population and stuff, and I liked it. I liked that. I liked the fact that it was multicultural, that you get different viewpoints, and that everybody seemed to get along. It was no big deal. And I thought rural area would be nice, And literally, I moved here knowing nobody. So, but what I've learned also is that if I were married, if I moved here as a married woman, I would have been definitely treated differently. But these are predators. They're in it for the money. They're in it for their sadistic pleasure. And many of them are performing rituals. They're involved in witchcraft and the local free Masonic clubs around here. So they get off on it. It fuels their sadistic pleasure. It fuels their they want your loosh, they want your energy, they want to steal your destiny. They're thieves. They're predators. And that's how I view these people. They're predators. And they're hypocrites also. They show one face to everybody else, but they're criminals. I have no use for people like that. They lie to themselves, and I believe in some instances it's generational. Like no family is perfect. There's no perfect person. But like this is 2026. People need to start getting along with people because the world is going to shit. And they can continue targeting one person. But what ends up happening with narcissists, they're going to want more fuel. They're going to want other people. Sorry about that. They want more people. That they're going to go after other people. Yes, they're addicted to chaos. Yes, they want control. Making people suffer gives them the feeling of control they crave. Yeah, they are control freaks. It seems like they like it to make enemies when there are absolutely, absolutely. I think they get off on it. They're addicted to chaos. They're. You know what? The way I see it is, and I felt this. I felt this like literally as soon as I met. Not everybody, but there was a couple of the people that I met. I knew immediately that they were angry. They're jealous, envious. You could feel it. You could sense it from somebody, like the poopy nurse. As soon as I met her, I did not like her. As soon as I met her, there was another woman I met when I moved here. I didn't like her either. I didn't like her at all. I haven't actually seen her since, but I know that she's one of the witches that gives the owl calls over my property. Yeah, well, these people, they've got. Think about this for a minute. They grow up in the same area. There's really nothing to do here. So when a new person comes in, they're predators. They swoop down. They're like hawks. Yeah, exactly. They have a cruel streak. It's part of their personality. Exactly, Fred. That's exactly right. Hi, Lloyd. Welcome, welcome. Healthy minds never think of controlling other people's lives. That's exactly right. You know why? Because we're too busy maneuvering our own. Oh, this is your first live. I didn't realize that. Is it snowing by you guys, Lloyd? No, not at all. I mean, we all have busy lives and stuff. But what's the weather doing by you? Remember to hit the thumbs up, guys. Yeah, it is cold. It's going to get colder. What state are you in? Oh, thanks, Pamela. Have a good week. You stay warm as well. You will be signing off at midnight here. Oh, it's 0 degrees. Where are you? It's going to be that on Monday here. The one thing when it gets that cold, like the animals really hate it. Like my birds, they do not like it at all. Yeah, I said earlier, like with all the snow, it's like the birds kind of get snow blinded. Like even when I shovel like a pathway for them, they get freaked out. They can't figure out how to get back into the coop. It's so weird. Oh, you're in British Columbia. Oh, wow. Oh, you know what? I forgot that you were there. It seems like it's always cold there. Do you have snow? Oh, too, you too, Ace of Cups. Have a good night. Oh, I know. I don't like the snow. Yeah, there is so much stuff going on, and you know what? What they do is it's like constant interference. I'll give you a for instance. So these criminals have been overheating my body at night. I take my temperature in the morning, and it's like it's just ridiculous. I will actually go outside in this bitter cold, um, wearing just pajamas because my body is so overheated at night. And you don't understand. It's like I have generally low body temperature. I should not wake up like burning hot, like to the touch of my skin. And I'll just go outside just to cool my body off. It's horrible. It's not normal. So I ordered some skin cream on Amazon, and I received it, and they threw it in a box with no packaging, no wrap on it, with a book that I ordered and something else. I took it out of the box, and the cap was already screwed off. There was no protective like plastic around it, as if somebody had tampered with it. So I went onto Amazon and I wanted a replacement. They automatically sent me a replacement. I received it, and I opened the box, and the same thing happened. It's twisted off, but this time the cream is out all inside the box. This is obviously deliberate. So I'm going to give Amazon a call to come and pick up both of these. I'm not going to order it again, at least not through Amazon. Let's see, when you were getting bullied at work, they would try to provoke your emotions on a daily basis. I've learned this is called, it's workplace mobbing. Yes, yes. Let me see. I actually have a great book Where is it? Let me see. I have a great book on workplace mobbing. 1 second, let me go get it. Yeah, this book is called Mobbing: Causes, Consequences, and Solutions by Maureen Duffy and Sperry. It's a great book on workplace mobbing and mobbing in particular. And I read a little bit about this on the channel. See if I could find it. My computer screen is like really, really, really slow. Yeah, so let's see. There's one here. I started reading it back in the end of September. Yeah, I'll give you a link here. I know it's so hard to boycott Amazon. Although I've been ordering from other places. So here is I read a little bit from this book here. Yeah, I don't know why it was called Amazon. Yeah, the bullying does continue outside of the workplace, except that the bullies are now the police and fire trucks and the military. Yes, absolutely. I still order some things on eBay also. Okay, so I'm posting 2 links in the chat about mobbing. Yeah, this book on mobbing is really good. Um, Okay, I'll read a little bit here. Let's see, it says, although colloquially referred to as bullying, what happened to Rachel was mobbing, not bullying. The key distinctions between bullying and mobbing, and that we'll examine in detail, blah, 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 is that the group dynamics of the offender students and the organizational dynamics are also involved. Usually, mobbing involves an official, an individual who's in a position to end the mobbing, is either a participant or turns a blind eye. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. AMAZ on A ma anything from A to Z with a smile. Oh, interesting. So Lloyd says, I peed on their temple's door handle in my former hometown. Why did you do that? You don't want to stoop to their behavior, that's for sure. You don't want to stoop to their levels. Let's see. Hi, Annie. Bezos chose an A name due to listing. A used to be first in listings. I always wondered about that name, Amazon, like the Amazon jungle. Or it also sounds like amazing. So I'll read a little bit more about a mobbing here in this book. Mobbing victims are typically ostracized and isolated by their coworkers and or superiors. Mobbing behaviors are carried out by a group that targets an individual or several individuals. Other coworkers and or supervisors are inducted into the group of mobbers through the control of information about the target, namely by spreading false information, by withholding accurate information, and by failing to correct information known to be false about the target. Mobbers are masters of impression management. And mobbers, they're fusion center operatives. They're the human traffickers. Mobbers are masters of impression management, and they deliberately create a negative and misleading image of the target victim. When the image of the target victim becomes sufficiently negative and damaging, it is easy to recruit others into the group of mobbers. The mobbers become the in group, and the victim becomes the out group. The control of information by the core mobbing group is central to the creation of an in and an out group. Mobbing victims are often unaware of the coordinated network of coworkers and or superiors and organizational involvement leading to their existing the organization through termination or constructive discharge. In mobbing prone organizations, genuine due process is lacking. Exactly, Fred. Mobbers are masters at destroying the organization. Absolutely. And this sounds exactly like what's happening to regular targeted people. In mobbing prone organizations, genuine due process is lacking. Like for us, there is no due process, which tells you that you're on a list of some sort. So, like when the FBI says, well, we can't confirm or deny that you're on any list, well, that's bullshit. They say it in the name of national security because they don't want to admit what they're doing. And the fact that there is no due process tells you everything that you need to know. Since the focus is on fault finding and placing blame, investigatory procedures are skewed in the direction of protecting the organization and finding a scapegoat. The notion of kangaroo courts comes to mind. Oh, we definitely have a kangaroo court here in Jackson County, Kentucky. I can tell you that. Like most mobbing victims, you could be at risk for a host of physical and psychological sequelae to the mobbing. As a result of the frequency and severity of the negative health consequences from mobbing has become an urgent public health problem. Mobbing has become an urgent public health problem. Exactly. National security is gang stalking. Gang stalking is national security. That's why there's no proper definition for either of them. National security involving kid informants with headphones. There'll be no meaningful change in either the occurrence or consequence of abuse unless the structure of the workplace is reformed according to new social and legal contract, one that encourages cooperation, justice, and a heightened and broadened sense of community. The individual and collective cruelty of the manager, the supervisor, and field worker cannot be ignored either. Here they're discussing the mobbing of a certain individual in an organization. Yeah, it probably did, Julius. Julius says, I think it started even before COINTELPRO from the 1960s. And then it goes on to talk about mobbing that goes on in schools, and we know that that happens. So there's mobbing in the workforce. How it affects family and relationships, organizational dynamics. I'm reading some of the table of contents. Some of the organizational development and risk factors, group leadership, and individual antecedents of mobbing, health and well-being, family and relationships, career and work performance, recommending a personal therapeutic plan, understanding organizational support systems, developing systemic recovery skills, mobbing prevention strategies. You know, I'm going to turn to that and see what strategies they recommend here. Page 246. Let me see. Yes, workplace mobbing sucks because you want to stay professional even though you know something is wrong, was said about you, but was never told what was said. Yes, it slowly but surely wears down the target. Hi, Brian, welcome. Pokemon Go was some sort of tool to make people point cameras at areas of people. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I'll read this paragraph here. That's exactly it. You try to be an adult when people around me are acting like psychos. Let's see. So there's this paragraph here. I purchased this book as a used book, so this paragraph is actually underscored already in pencil. I'll read that. Those with proactive aggression display an organized, purposeful, and often premeditated form of abusive behavior. You hear that? Premeditated form of abusive behavior. Their aggression serves as a tool for personal gain, status, self gratification, and almost always for emotional control. Their strategies for emotional control include pressing sensitive buttons to elicit a desired effective response from others, and displaying false emotions themselves. Like they'll cry, they'll pretend to be remorseful, to deceive others of their aggressive intentions. These individuals initiate aggressive acts without provocation and against those who they see as most vulnerable and least threatening targets for exploitation. They're not remorseful, and they're seldom willing to take responsibility for their actions. They prefer instead to blame others. Well, that sounds familiar. It is these aggressors whom peers, teachers, and parents commonly refer to as bullies. Their aggressive behavior is likely to continue unabated until they develop genuine empathy for others. Their aggressive behavior ceases to satisfy their appetitive needs, or they have access to more satisfying pro social ways to maintain positive self esteem. Again, we're introducing the caution that the term bully can and has been used purposefully as part of the mobbing of a worker or student. Notwithstanding that, the distinction between reactive and proactive aggression is useful. Okay, so these are some of the common recommendations offered for dealing with a youth. Now, this is young people identified as proactive aggressors. Oh, so that could be sort of like my neighbors, the very little immature weenies. Provide clear behavioral expectations that are free from loopholes or ambiguity. Avoid debates or arguments. Avoid repetitious or standardized responses. Reinforce positive achievements. Don't drop your guard. Focus on feelings rather than facts. Don't stop at consequences. Teach pro-social behaviors. Well, forget. I think we're finished with that, right? Let's see. Kind artist says, I learned so much about people, perps around me, especially my Christian perps. I question them on what the Bible says about bearing false witness. LOL. Julie says, I stopped going to church, social activities. I don't recommend that for everybody, but it works for me. Kana says, God commands people must not bear false witness. 10 Commandments. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Exodus 20:16. Also Deuteronomy 5:20. It's a difficult situation to be in, whether it's workplace mobbing, school mobbing, property mobbing, real estate mobbing, just your loser neighbors. But it's beyond that because it is a program. It's carefully orchestrated. It's premeditated. There are fusion center operatives. It involves Homeland Security. It involves intel agencies, InfraGard. It involves military and communities gang together. They band together because it fulfills their rituals, their abusive rituals, their sadistic personality traits, their greedy little hands got to be in the pot. They like to steal from other people. They can't create for themselves, so they have to steal from others. So yeah, it's this is an ongoing problem with targeted people because there's so many people. It's a huge octopus, and it basically is human trafficking. That's basically what it is. When somebody else wants to control another individual, when somebody else spreads a slander defamation campaign, when somebody else is deliberately destroying your property, destroying what you've achieved in your lifetime, it tells you something about them more than about you. It tells you that they're ineffective. Anybody that has to wake up in the morning and have to surveil another person. It's more than virtual, Fred. It's more than virtual human trafficking. They're literally trafficking us. By entering your home, covert experimentation, implantation, using chemicals, fungus, mold, the thefts. I mean, I mentioned like in 2024, more than $7,000 of items were stolen from inside of my house. I haven't calculated yet this year, but I mean, you all know that they stole a new watch. This week alone, in the last 7 days, they have sliced 4 pair of socks. So that's why I feel like in January, so there's either a whole new group of perpetrators that are targeting me, or they have a whole new skit show because they're laying out all these new techniques, like literally in the first month. So I don't know if that's happening to you guys, or like if you notice something different happening in the first, month of of the year. But that's what's happening here. But anyway, it's just a little bit past midnight. It is very evil, Julius. It's very evil. And thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. I share my experiences. Not only these, you need to share these experiences with people that get it, but also there are a lot of people that are experiencing some of what I'm getting too. They don't have anybody to talk to, nobody to validate what's happening to them. And it is truly horrific. It's truly horrific that there are people literally camped out on my property in these outer buildings. It is truly horrific that you've got losers at the Jackson County PVA that target a senior citizen to steal property taxes from and then lie about it. Hi, No Gang Stalkers, welcome. Hi. You go through the same things. Oh, yeah, there's squat. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? This book that I'm reading, Camelio by Robert Guffey, they call them invisible midgets. They call them invisible midgets. They're basically military guys. Let's see. The next in line are the Templar Knights. They're based in the Vatican and also Switzerland. Yeah, invisible midgets. They'd have to be. I live in a very small space and it's very cluttered because I don't have shelves or closets. So I have stuff like lined up on the side of my house here on the inside. But they do knock things down. They come in and out of here and they hide. But yeah, they're invisible. They use cloaking devices. They use invisibility suits. They hide behind trees, like according to a Kay Griggs, the ex-military wife. They hide behind trees. They're very immature. They hate women. They're taught that their wives are the enemy. This is what we're dealing with. They're criminals. They are a cult. The military is a cult. And unfortunately, these cult members have infiltrated every part of society. I'm imagining that this is what the new word order is, the new world order. It's a cult of Satanists, Luciferian Satanists. They traffic in people. Yeah, they hate women. They absolutely hate women. And most of the women that have given testimony that this basically happened to them after they got divorced or after a husband passed away, um, or after they divorced a cop or a military person. So they go after divorced women. That's sort of like why when I moved here, and you probably don't know this. When I first moved here, of course, I didn't know anybody. But the sheriff at the time, Paul Hayes, he was the sheriff at the time. He visited me, introduced himself to me. And one of his words of wisdom were that I should get a dog, I should get a gun. And then a couple of times later that he visited, he says, well, I need to get a husband. I need to get a husband. A dog, a gun, and a husband. Oh, is that what it takes to live here in Jackson County, Kentucky? Yeah. Divorced single women is exactly who they go after. That's exactly right. And I've got swarms of testimonies of women who, after their divorce, got targeted. It is. It's unbelievable. But how? How do people know about that? Well, You have divorce lawyers and you go before a judge. And then it becomes a public record. Divorced single women. And a lot of divorced single women get the house. In my case, I bought my ex-husband out of the house. So Lloyd says, I was dating a cop's wife for 2.5 years every weekend. She drove from Seattle to see me here, about 2-hour drive to greater lower. Really? So what happened after you broke up? Did you get targeted? In medieval Europe, single women were targeted during the witch hunts for over 100 years. Well, we've got a lot of witches here in Jackson County, Kentucky. I don't know if they're married or not, but they're definitely witches. Just because somebody's divorced doesn't make them a witch. Maybe it makes them more intelligent than the woman that stays and is abused. Campus Scout says, I'm targeted by women. I'm targeted by women too. But I'm also targeted by middle-aged Freemasonic men here in Jackson County, Kentucky, including a piece of shit attorney, Ross Murray, who has harassed me from literally the time I moved here. So Joe says, I've seen something recently that was quite intriguing. A pyramid exists in Astana, Kazakhstan. The pyramid has 200 seats at the very top. What a coincidence. A book of Enoch says 200 watchers came to Earth. Oh, well, that is interesting. Yeah. Oh, no, these are middle-aged men here. They steal my socks. So what they did here in Jackson County, Kentucky, a man by the name of Clifford England, England, signed for my little cat sock package. So basically, when I spoke to Federal Express did some research and said that somebody changed the label to go to this Clifford England, who did not pay for my little kitty cat socks, but he signed for the package. And I obviously have a copy of that. So we got that little piece of crap that stole my socks. Then we got the piece of crap, little Bobby Edwards, who can't show his face, can't produce a letter that he alleged he did not send me because he's a pathological liar, to steal my property taxes. We should just let his wife know. We need to let his wife know that he's a little piece of crap that steals money from senior citizens. And that's what they do. Oh, you're back, Pamela. I thought you were going to bed. We'll be signing off soon anyway. It is like a war. It's craziness. It's craziness that at this stage of life, I worked so hard my entire life as a divorced single mom, going through getting my degrees as a late, a late learner. Went back to school in my 40s and 50s. And that this has to happen to me at this stage of my life when I should be a millionaire at this point. Pamela says, it happened to me. The postal clerk accidentally sent me the address and tried to tell me to ignore it. She stole my ice maker, your Halloween pajamas, a bunch of Christmas presents. Yes, they've stolen food here. They've delivered my Misfits Market food to neighbors. They, Clifford England signed for my cat socks this summer. He literally signed for something that I paid for because these little Freemasons, they're all in on it. They reroute my packages to other criminals here. And no doubt the $1,400 that I paid in property taxes that I should not have paid were divvied up between the sheriff, Ross Murray, and the Jackson County PVA, little Bobby Edwards. So, little Bobby Edwards, you've got some real nasty karma heading your way. And Michaela, now that you're involved, you've got some negative karma coming your way too. Yeah, they want my money and my land. Well, tough. Let them go to work. Let them go to work and earn it. They're thieves. They're predators. They're little pieces of crap. And somebody said in one of the comments section that my land is more valuable than I know. I'm not going to say the reasons why, but I already know it. I know my land is more valuable, and that's why they want it. Well, too bad, losers. You can buy it. Because I might very well increase my next asking price and then reduce it. That's what people do. So they keep vandalizing and vandalizing, but that's okay because the state of Kentucky will be receiving my invoice. They will be receiving my invoice for all the damages that were done on my property. Yes. So anyway, let's see, did I ever get my food? Well, actually, there were literally 2 weeks in a row that the food was damaged, and I never received it. But that's what they're telling me. They're telling me that it was damaged, but I didn't receive the damaged box. So they could have literally distributed my box to somebody else. A con artist says 100% Lorraine, water is becoming scarce worldwide. So having water is more valuable than gold. Well, speaking of all of that stuff, yes, water is valuable. And I've got a county creek running through my property. And I've got water everywhere. One of the reasons why I bought this property. I did a lot of research. I wasn't going to move to Jackson County. I was going to move somewhere else in Kentucky. But I did a lot of research on what is called strategic relocation. Yeah, that's a good point, Lloyd. That's a good point. Well, now that I know that somebody locally placed their house on the market for $750, although their house is not vandalized like mine is, and it's a significantly higher square footage. But yes, that's what properties are going for around here. And I think that house is going to sell for that. I think so. And I also think that land, property is becoming more valuable, even though real estate may not be as valuable. A lot of people are selling their houses instantaneously, depends on where you live. And there are houses that are selling here fairly quickly, except mine, because mine is blacklisted, because they go behind my back, slander it to all the local realtors and stuff, prevent the phone calls from coming into me. So I guarantee that there are people that have tried to contact me about the property, but the calls were intercepted. So Conrad says New Zealand sells the water, like they ship it in giant bladders to other countries behind large ships. Yes, lots of people are leaving states. Yes, well, lots of people are moving out of the United States. A lot of people are leaving. I would leave also. If I were younger, I would pack up and get out of the United States. This is a police state. But they're also, it's when I was looking, I was researching strategic relocation. So what is strategic relocation? Is moving to an area that can be self-supportive, meaning water, foraging, trees for lumber, and land. We don't have enough sun here even for solar anymore. And also, that is somewhat protected from big cities. Renato Jones said that people need to get out of the United States, especially migrants. I believe that. Lloyd says, I'm lucky and living in a $2.1 million home, but I have 11 roommates and it's a frat house. I'm 48, still recovering over the last 5 years from DEW attacks for 4 years straight, 24/7, 365. Oh, you've been bedridden for 5 years. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't know that about you. Thank you for sharing that. Pamela is going to Spain. Why I'm downsizing if I don't have anything? There's nothing to ruin. Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Well, Lloyd, if that's working for you, that works. That you're living in a very large home, and you're able to support it with 11 roommates. And there are people that do that. There was a guy that I was dating in New Jersey years ago who had a gorgeous. He still has it. He's got a beautiful, beautiful home, and has multiple floors. And he was always renting it out because he lived near Rutgers University. So he was always renting out either to a student or a professor. And I think that's a great idea if you can do that. Lloyd says it's not easy when they gang stalk me for the 10th time for them to get in and out of the house. Oh, it's horrible. Yeah. Pamela wants to know, Lloyd, why you are bedridden. Lloyd says, my landlord owns 7 homes and works as a nurse. A lot of people say they have Morgellons. Well, that's what they're trying to get. I think they're giving that to me. I'm going to share some photos. I just haven't posted it yet. I'm going to share some photos of what was done to my legs over the last couple of days. I'll have to do that later. But guys, I'm going to have to sign off. I'm going to have to shovel my porch before I get to bed because we've had a little bit more snow, and Zoomy just got up, so that means he needs to go outside. So, I mean, unless you want me to keep the live going, if you don't mind, I will not speak anymore. I can leave it open, for like the next half an hour while I go and shovel my porch. What would you like to do? Do you want me to keep it open, or do you want me to shut it down? Do you want to continue having a conversation amongst yourselves? Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you all for joining in. Yes, zoom. Yes, I have to let him out now, but he's going to be a problem for him because he's got to trek through the snow, so I've got to shovel a little bit. Okay, guys, I'm going to end. Have a great night, and remember to hit the thumbs up if you haven't already done so, and I'll talk to you guys soon.